What if making decisions is actually much easier than you think? In this video, you're going to discover that the traditional approach to decision-making, where we are burdened with finding a single correct answer among countless wrong ones, does more than just create pressure, anxiety, and decision paralysis. It is also asking the wrong question entirely. When we shift from "what's the right choice" to "which version of reality do I want to experience?" we transform the entire decision-making process. This isn't just semantics, it is a fundamental reorientation of how we relate to possibility. Consider this concrete example. Imagine you're deciding whether to accept a job offer that would require moving to a new city. The conventional approach weighs pros and cons, trying to calculate which choice maximizes benefit and minimizes regret. But this approach often leads to second-guessing and anxiety because it's impossible to predict all outcomes. But what if you asked a different question? Which version of myself am I most curious to know? The person who stays experiences one reality. The person who moves experiences another. Neither is objectively right. They are simply two different experienced realities. When you frame decisions this way, you move from the position of a judge, trying to determine which choice is correct, to that of a creator, consciously selecting which branch of reality you'll explore next. This shift doesn't just ease anxiety, it reconnects you with your agency as the author of your own life story. Imagine this scene for a moment. You're standing at the edge of a vast cosmic tree. Not just any tree, a tree whose branches represent every possible reality that could exist. With each passing moment, the tree grows new branches, sprouting new possibilities that extend into infinity. This isn't science fiction. It is one of the most profound theories in quantum physics, and it has the potential to transform how you make choices in your own life. In 1957, a young physicist named Hugh Everett proposed something that sounded more like mysticism than science. While his colleagues believed that quantum particles existed in multiple states simultaneously until observed, when they would collapse into one definite state, Everett suggested something far more radical. What if nothing collapses at all? What if, instead, reality itself branches out like a cosmic tree, creating separate parallel universes for each and every possible outcome? This is the many worlds interpretation, and it's both simpler and more mind-bending than you might think. Think about flipping a coin. In our everyday experience, it lands either heads or tails. But at the quantum level, until observed, that coin exists in a ghostly superposition of both heads and tails simultaneously. Everett's revolutionary idea was this. When you flip the coin, you don't force it to become heads or tails. Rather, reality branches like a fork in the road. In one branch, you observe heads. In another branch, an identical version of you observes tails. Both outcomes happen, just in different universes. Physicists will be the first to admit this doesn't really make intuitive sense, but they'll be just as quick to assert that, whether we fully grasp it or not, it is the nature of reality. As physicist David Deutsch explains it, the quantum theory of parallel universes is not the problem, it is the solution. It is not some troublesome optional interpretation emerging from arcane theoretical considerations. It is the explanation, the only one that is tenable, of a remarkable and counterintuitive reality. This isn't just about coin flips or laboratory experiments. The implications ripple through our entire understanding of reality. If the many worlds interpretation is correct, then every time a quantum event could go multiple ways, which happens trillions of times per second, reality branches anew. The universe you experience is just one branch on an infinitely vast tree of possible realities. In some branch, you made that call you've been putting off. In another, you took that job overseas. In yet another, you told that person how you really felt. All versions exist somewhere. But you, the conscious observer, only experience one branch. As physicist Brian Greene puts it, the universe, according to quantum mechanics, is not a single reality, but a diverse and vast collection of universes existing in parallel. This isn't mysticism or metaphor. It's what the mathematics of quantum physics seems to be telling us about the nature of reality itself. Fascinating though it may be. Thankfully, you don't have to be a physicist yourself to recognize the powerful new perspective this offers, and how it can transform your relationship with both decision-making and with regret. Many self-help approaches recommend going with your gut or following your heart, but these vague directives often leave us wondering which internal voice to trust. The quantum-inspired approach to decision-making offers something more profound, a practice of conscious reality creation. When you recognize that all possibilities exist somewhere in the quantum multiverse, your attention shifts from anxious prediction to conscious selection. This isn't about becoming indecisive, it's about making choices with greater awareness and purpose. Think about the last major decision you made. If you're like most people, you probably spent considerable energy trying to predict outcomes and avoid mistakes. But what if uncertainty isn't something to eliminate, but something to embrace as the canvas upon which you create? As the psychoanalyst Erich Fromm wrote, "The quest for certainty blocks the search for meaning. Uncertainty is the very condition to impel man to unfold his powers." Indeed, though we naturally crave certainty, we're not only unlikely to ever really get it, we're also shrinking ourselves in the process. Though it isn't immediately comfortable, facing the unknown is a crucial part of becoming fully human. And in truth, we need not fear the unknown nearly as much as we've been conditioned to. Once you recognize that your life is not a test, but an adventure through possibility, you realize there is much less to be afraid of. And that's not even the most astonishing part. But first, if you're finding this video to be true and it's turning any lights on for you, please consider subscribing to help spread this message. Perhaps the most liberating aspect of the quantum approach to decisions is how it dissolves the paralysis of perfectionism. In a multiverse where all possibilities exist somewhere, the notion of the perfect choice becomes meaningless. There is no perfect choice, only different experiences. Traditional narratives have burdened us all with concepts like purpose and destiny. They assume that life follows a preset path, which you can either successfully follow or mistakenly stray from. This assumption is responsible for familiar ailments such as shame, regret, and self-loathing. And yet, not only is this assumption disempowering, it is totally false. You exist in a universe of infinite potential. This life is not your duty. This life is yours. It's not about fulfilling the purpose you were given. You weren't given one. It's about play, joy, self-empowerment, freedom. It's about having the experience you want. Perfectionism often masquerades as high standards, but at its core, it's fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of regret, fear of disapproval. The quantum approach acknowledges a profound truth. There are no mistakes, only different experiences. The only true mistake is living unconsciously, allowing fear rather than authentic choice to determine which reality branch you follow. Brené Brown captures this beautifully when she writes, "Perfectionism is not the same as striving for excellence. Perfectionism is not about healthy achievement and growth. It's a shield. The quantum approach to decisions helps you lower this shield, embracing the vulnerability and aliveness that comes with conscious choice. You're not just changing your perception of a fixed reality, you're actively selecting which branch of reality your consciousness will experience. This isn't nearly as far-fetched as it sounds. Not only in major life decisions, but also in countless small choices we make throughout the day, we determine which aspects of the world around us we perceive, and which aspects we overlook. This in turn determines what we experience and what we miss out on. Take, for example, the parable of the river crossing. You come to the edge of a river during a long walk through the forest. Whether you know it or not, you're not just standing at the edge of the river. You're standing at a fork in time between three different versions of you. One version sees the river as too difficult or too dangerous to get across and turns around. But another version sees the river as a formidable obstacle worth overcoming and sets about making a bridge out of nearby stones and branches. Yet another version pauses to notice there is already a viable path across. By carefully stepping from stone to stone and accepting that your toes may get a little wet in the process. In the present moment, and in all three versions of the future, it is the same river. What is different is what you see. The river is difficult, dangerous, and possible to cross. Crossing it leads to one adventure. Doubling back and wandering elsewhere leads to another. You cannot make a wrong choice. The only thing you can do wrong is to let your choice be guided by external forces. Forces that have instilled in you a sense of destiny and obligation, rather than a sense of adventure and curiosity. When you flip a coin, you have no control over the outcome. you simply discover which universe you live in. The one where it lands heads, or the one where it lands tails. But when it comes to which version of you arrives at the river crossing, you have the capacity to choose. Even if you're inclined toward one version, you could decide to act as the other version. This is just as bewildering a mystery as the mystery of quantum physics. But just like quantum physics, however strange it may seem, it's the truth. Discovering this dissolves the judgment that often accompanies our choices and those of others. When someone makes a different choice than you would, they're not wrong. They're simply selecting a different experience. This perspective fosters compassion both for yourself and others. It recognizes that each person is navigating their own complex web of branches according to their unique combination of values, fears, desires, and understanding. This doesn't mean we should automatically try to tolerate anything and everything other people choose to do. However, rather than condemn from a place of moral superiority, we should seek to converge around the world we all want to live in. Do we want more suffering or less? Do we want more freedom to be and act ourselves, or less? Once viewed clearly, these questions cease to be vexing ethical dilemmas. They become easy. When you truly internalize that different doesn't mean wrong, you gain freedom from both harsh self-judgment and the need to convince others that your way is the right way. You can honor your path while respecting that others are following theirs. As Carl Jung observed, the shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Therefore, it is the shared freedom to live as we please, without encroaching on the freedom of others to do the same, that we should all strive for. Viktor Frankl wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." The quantum perspective reveals how vast this space truly is, reminding us that in each moment, reality itself branches according to our choices. Speaking kindly to a stranger, choosing courage over comfort, practicing gratitude instead of complaint. These aren't just momentary shifts, they are acts of world building. In some very real sense, you wield the power to build a universe where that stranger's day gets better, or a universe where that stranger's day gets worse, just by what you choose to say to them. You create a universe where idiots say infuriating things online, or where dolphins swim through the waves in the distance, just by whether you choose to stare at your phone or at the horizon. Every choice, every distraction, every moment brings one of many possible worlds into being, in one small way or another. The renowned physicist Richard Feynman famously said that, "If you think you understand quantum physics, you don't understand quantum physics." Though countless self-help gurus and charlatans have tried to claim that quantum physics has objectively proven all sorts of wild theories about our lives, the reality is that it remains a confusing and emerging field that inspires deep questions and offers some intriguing suggestions. The discovery that we likely live in a multiverse is awe-inspiring, but hard to wrap our minds around. What is not hard, looking out toward this outer frontier of human knowledge, is to realize that our intuitions about what is real and what is fiction are never as reliable or concrete as we tend to think. Quantum physics, and its alarming implications, makes our arrogant assertions about right and wrong, or success and failure, look sillier than ever. Its revelations about the wacky nature of the universe give us the chance to reevaluate how seriously we take ourselves, and how perhaps that seriousness is getting in the way of living a joyful and fulfilling life. So, pulling away from the furthest reaches of scientific inquiry and returning to how we can immediately improve our own daily lives, here are 5 quantum-inspired ways you can start building a better universe through quantum decision-making. First, start with branch acknowledgement. This one is simple, but incredibly powerful. Before making any decision that's causing you stress, take a deep breath and remind yourself, all possible choices exist somewhere in the multiverse. Just this mental shift can immediately reduce the pressure you feel to find the one perfect answer. Try it right now with something you're deciding. Feel how the weight lifts when you realize there is no single right path. Second, practice value alignment. Instead of asking, which choice is right? Ask yourself, which version of reality would most align with my core values? You're no longer a detective trying to uncover the one correct answer. You're a conscious creator selecting which reality branch you want to experience. For example, if you're deciding whether to have a difficult conversation with someone, Don't get lost in calculating every possible outcome. Instead, ask, do I want to experience a reality where I speak my truth with compassion, or one where I prioritize short-term comfort over authentic connection? Third, incorporate some form of mindfulness into your daily routine. This is not just to incur any of the familiar benefits associated with mindfulness practice. It is also to widen your perception and encounter more opportunities to choose a different version of yourself than you might have otherwise been. Fourth, practice outcome detachment. Remember that the goal isn't perfect prediction of results. That's impossible even for quantum physicists. The goal is consciously choosing which version of the future to inhabit. When you catch yourself obsessing over potential outcomes, gently bring yourself back to the present with, I'm selecting a branch of reality to experience, not controlling every future detail. Finally, embrace compassion. Judgment and contempt only make sense in a world where everyone is obligated to fulfill a set purpose that has somehow been assigned to them from above. But mind-bending scientific discoveries like quantum physics have a way of dispelling such simplistic myths, and the idea that we always know what is best for other people. If you're going to intervene on behalf of building the kind of future you want to live in, not out of anger or contempt or fear. At some point during your life, you may have noticed something peculiar. The more you come to learn about the world around you, and the more perspectives you come to understand, the less sense any of it makes. The nature of our existence remains fundamentally mysterious, and the more we unlock hidden clues about it, the more complicated and strange the picture becomes. The question, what is our relationship with reality, is as deeply philosophical and as ultimately mysterious as any. But rather than feeling disempowered or disillusioned by this, we ought to feel tremendously liberated. For thousands of years, we've pressured ourselves with the belief that reality happens to us, around us, and that we're supposed to relentlessly battle against it. But we're now at a point where we've been forced to start asking ourselves how we can be so sure that our perception of reality is correct. How sure can we be of our limitations when it comes to affecting what our world looks like, moment to moment, year after year? If you adopt this quantum-inspired approach to navigating your existence, you will likely be surprised by your own power. Doorways will open that you didn't know were there. People will appear in your life that you couldn't have imagined before. Experiences will come, as will feelings and sensations, that surpass the familiar and lift your spirit to new heights. And none of it will have come from some external stroke of luck beyond your control. It will all stem from an experimental shift in your own way of being, your own way of navigating the landscape of possibility and uncertainty. Conventional narratives will ask, who are you to be the architect of your own experience? But in truth, who are you not to be? Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, please leave a like and a comment, and please consider subscribing. We have much more to discuss. Until then, my friend, see you in the next branch of reality.